Hey, what's up? It's your boy BobbySapphire, and today we are doing a mailbag episode. We asked viewers to send in as many questions as you could for us to get to when we give away some tokens from metalfabtokens.com. You can check out all our answers as well as the giveaway winners right here. Let's transition to the mailbag. We had this contest and we wanted to do a mailbag episode. Lots of podcasts do a mailbag episode. I thought like one a year could be really good. Let people have their say and also tie it to the giveaway that we were doing. So here's the first question from Jacob G. Which mostly unrepresented set 1 and 2 leader has the most potential to pop off competitively? And some of these are rephrased because
I
I
have
can't help
two.
myself.
I have two that I can think of right off the bat. I would say Tarkin for set one, just because you're going to see more Imperials, and we've seen that he can do some really really powerful things with lurking TIE
Yep, get
phantoms.
vertical.
But I will say, like when making that deck, you're not able to make it all Imperial the way you're able to make like an all Rebel deck. Like just the Imperials that flush out these things, there just isn't enough. There aren't enough. So if you see set four is going to have it has a bunch of Rebel stuff. I imagine there's a bunch of Imperial stuff. So I could see Tarkin being really strong. I think that Kylo for set two. Um, I think the new bases for set three weren't explored enough. I think that is an opportunity for people, like especially the blue one, that adds a HP to your leader with Kylo is something that like I like thought about, but there's just a lot of other powerful stuff. But I do think that Kylo has some untapped potential. Just the unit coming out early, being an aggressive card. Um, I think those two stand out for me.
What about you, Steve?
Set one, I'm gonna say Luke, just because I'm hopeful at some point there's actually going to be a real blue-green like hero deck. And I think his shields are the strongest. I just think he's he just never seems to be that deck type in itself just never seems to be positioned in the meta. So if we get to a point where that type is positioned in the meta, I think he could be good. And just that in general of those, I mean, I would secretly love it to be Chewy because I love me some Wookiees. But set two, I'm gonna go with Lando. Mike,
Ooh,
you're probably thinking about this, or you've worked quite a bit on trying to break Lando. I always try to when I think of like sleeper decks and leaders, I ought to think about like what leaders work outside of like the normal game mechanics. And I definitely think he's one. And as more and more cards get released into the pool, I think the chances of that being viable just incrementally go up.
All right, I don't really have a good answer. I'm thinking like I'm still waiting for something to get printed for Afra to make her really good.
mhm.
That's the dream. Play stuff out of the discard pile, play a dredge deck. So I'm gonna say Afra. Uh, that would be my pick.
Yeah, I think it's challenging with the power level of there is a good variety of decks. I think like Boba being banned, I think did open things up, but I think the sort of top maybe 8 or 9 leaders, it's hard to crack if you're not in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to play Lando as like a double yellow deck over a Han
Yeah,
based on the way that the colors work. Like if there was like if Lando's just like completely other colors where only Lando could play these cards, or Afra could only play these cards, it's like yeah, Afra's good, but Boba's always been better. Now Django's probably better, or Cad's probably better in that same spot. So it's hard to sort of be on the outside looking in, and then um and then be included sort of as a comparison.
yeah, I don't disagree. All right, next question from Chris Graham, my boy from the X-Wing days. How often do you want a 1x in your deck, and how do you decide that a card isn't good enough to be a 2 of, but when you get the 1, you're happy? This is a
Yeah,
deck
this is
building
a
question.
really good question because I've seen the 1Xs in a lot of decks and I've done it myself. I'm not happy with 1X. The way sort of I have it mentally in my brain is that when you play three of a something, you're okay seeing it twice on a consistent basis. And actually in many cases you want to see it as much as you can. It's just the card that you want to play. Think of a card like Four Cause I believe in, or Battlefield Marine, you just want to see this unit. Fetch Fire Spray, you want to see it. Even in multiples, Ruthless Raider, you want to see it. Triple Dark Ray, you want to see it. So that's like the three of obvious thing, and then sometimes it's just for curve consistency. Two of it feels like you're sort of banking on seeing it once, in the course of a game, so not necessarily an early card. But you kind of don't necessarily want to see it more than once, but you kind of want to see it once.
Yeah, most games.
So I'm kind of with Chris on this one. Like, why would you put a card in once? It's sort of a puzzle. I think sometimes it's just the nature of the curve. I would say here's where I'm at with it. I don't think I would play one of a card ever, but I would play four of a card.
Right.
So, for instance, if I play 3 Vaders, I might play a single Maul because I want 4 7-drops.
Yep.
I'm never gonna play like a singleton.
Unique, like something that has a unique effect.
Card,
right?
Like I wouldn't play one Darksaber. Darksaber is a weird case anyway, but I could see it theoretically play 2. I could theoretically play 3 Poes and like an Anakin, if Anakin was better cards. Another flavor miss there. But that's sort of where I'm thinking. I do think like the CAD, like the singleton CAD in Django, is sort of another top end card that is with Fetch Fire Spray and with Ruthless Raider. It's a little bit different.
And I think that's one example. Is like you play one of a bomb that you're going to get late. That's expensive. It's not going to get played in most games, and a lot of times it's an easy resource. But if you ever draw it towards the end of the game, you're going to play and win the game with it. What are you going to say, Steve?
Right. So actually, I was thinking the opposite. Like there are 2 cards. Like one was pretty obvious, and the second a little less so. But 2 cards that come to mind that I probably would, and I know in one of my decks I am playing one of. One is it not? Oh my god, why am I blank? Restock. Like I'm playing a 1 of X.
This is a really important effect you need.
That's a really
Blu-ray.
Cool.
And like that is a card like that. You're going to, where it's applicable, it's in a game where you're going to see probably your whole deck, right? And like the other card I was thinking of, whatever that green, yellow bounty hunter, the thing that bounces the card from your discard.
Bounty hunter crew.
Yeah, the bounty hunter crew. Like you could play a 1X of that. And
right, because it gives you 4 of other cards. Yeah,
something along those lines where prevent yourself from getting decked. But I mean, outside of that scenario, I'd agree with what you said, Justin. But I do think those 2 cards in itself, there is some applicability, or it does apply there. But then again, who the hell wants to be playing mill mirrors all day long, anyways?
Right.
I know I don't.
Turn them sideways.
Yeah. For me, it's like the 4 of thing, like playing 1 crafty when you already have 3 L3s, or I play 1 punishing 1 in my Django right now because I just want another 3-drop.
Another 3, right?
Yeah.
I have an emphasis nest in Han. I've been really loving Han, but I'm still got the 3 Han units, so it's like I just want an extra top end card. I want an extra middle card. I want an extra curve here and there.
Yeah, extra pump.
Yeah,
extra removal.
The other day when you said you're playing 6 crafties, I was like, huh? What is he talking about? How is he playing 6 of a card? And then I just figured it out, the L3.
Yeah.
I'm loving, just segue here, but I'm loving Han. I'm going to jump in heavy in the Han 1 deck thread in the Discord. I'm like, it's like new friends. I'm like, it's like a new school because I've been so heavy. It's like I might got my backpack on.
Hey guys.
I'm like, hey guys, like who wants to be friends?
What's up, fellow kids?
I'm asking all these like dumb questions and like, but I'm digging it. I'm loving the deck.
Are you planning on more merch to make it more accessible in other parts of the world? I love the shirt and coin and need more from Marcus P. And Steve is currently chatting with Maddie about crew necks. Right. We do have that new logo. We did do that so we could sell merch because we can't. This logo has Star Wars stuff on it, so we can't sell stuff. And we get questions all the time. Can I get a hat? Can I get a beanie? Can I get, a new hoodie? I want more shirts, different colors. We're trying to provide all that to people. We're working on it. We spent a lot of money on a logo for y'all.
I'm hyped. Professional logo. Everything about that went so well. Really just like a dope new vibe, new energy logo. It's gonna be great to see. One of my favorite things is seeing like an event with people wearing like the old school giveaway stuff, like the gray.
Hmm.
So it's gonna be great to see like people wearing like more variety of stuff if they're able to get on the store, seeing like a water bottle or phone case, just different things that we're able to do with this.
And I'm hyped to have that
Um,
stuff for me too. I'm hyped
yeah,
for a
no, I'm
phone
super
case.
hyped. Steve's been
I told you
posting
I'm
some
not doing the
mock-ups.
Samsung. You gotta switch over.
Yeah, no Samsung would be crazy. All of a sudden, we have the KTOD boys chat back on iMessages, Steve.
Never.
Yes,
We
I told
finally
you.
got my last
We have
buddy
them.
in from the loft to get on WhatsApp. Took like a whole year and a half, but we got him.
Oh my god.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah, it's gonna
we
be
got
sick.
him.
It's gonna be sick, and I think it opens up possibilities for the future too. Of like card. We have a store, maybe merchandise, but maybe we can do some card sleeves or just different opportunities to do.
Yeah, not having a logo that Disney can come down on just gives us freedom to do other things. And it's not necessarily selling too. We can do lots of cool
Right.
things.
And we love, the old logo is cool. It's sort of nostalgic. Thinking of like you mentioned you're going to the Patriots, like the old Patriot logo. Still seeing that show up is going to be great. But
Yeah,
having the
we're
logo
and
moving forward.
we're not completely moving away from that by any means.
Yeah,
We just
I'm not
needed
donating
another
my
option.
T-shirts to Goodwill.
No. All right. Would your team consider one-to-one Star Wars coaching, SWU coaching? I'm looking to elevate my competitive game. I must have missed a word there. And I know practice is key, but I'm looking for more from Michael R. We do have the office hours tier that's pretty limited, but I know like Maddie's been doing some one-on-one coaching. You guys have, sort of on a case-by-case
I
basis,
have,
right?
yeah, mine's pretty limited. Although I was actually gonna post this. I haven't mentioned this to you guys, but probably like 2 days over Christmas break when uh my family goes away to visit, sort of a different thing happening. I'll probably open up sort of like a impromptu coaching session for people in the Discord, like sort of get 2 days and schedule me quick in this sort of
Yep.
lightning round type thing. So in between Christmas and New Year's, there'll be a couple days for the Discord peeps. But I think a lot of that funnels through our internal community.
Yeah. Yeah. Not necessarily outwards on the to the public, Michael R. But you could also just DM me, and I will find you. I have like a bunch of people who are also looking to coach that I trust that I would send you to. I opened up 8 slots for school vacation, and I filled all 8, which
Oh
is
wow.
pretty wild. But yeah, just trying to get that in because I know I'm not going to have a lot of time to do so over break. But yeah, we do that. We do coach, and are willing to help you find. And if we can't do it because time's limited, I will find you somebody, because I have a few people that I would highly recommend.
And outside of the one-on-one, I think like through our tiers, like the playtesting tier that we have has been like on fire lately.
Hmm.
Getting like VODs there, and I've been like posting like, hey, let's try this thing out. And I was playing with our buddy Thrawn, who's coming to London with us. Um, and it's just been really, really robust. So it's not exactly like sort of technical thing that you can do with some of the one-on-one stuff, but it's still really valuable in other ways.
All right. As someone who's dabbled in making content, what is missing, or what would you like to see more of in the content sphere of the game? And that's from Mac V. That's Mickey D. In the Discord and YouTube, a member of our playtesting community tier. Anyone have a thought here? I know, a lot of people just do, gameplay. And I think one thing I liked that Tower would do early on was he would commentate over important matches from tournaments, but also, like, I would want someone to have watched them a couple times to like have things to dissect. I would love if someone did like a football coach style, like Monday morning, where breaking down the gameplay of a game. Like one game, here's like 3 things to learn from this game, and not necessarily just kind of like react to what's going on, but actually find games where there are learning moments, break them down, and make like some dedicated 10 to 15 minute, maybe 20-minute content of watching parts of the game and breaking down why those parts are important.
I really liked what we did, and it's been hard because we both have, full-time jobs and families and stuff. But I really liked when you and I met up in person, recorded, and then talked over it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got tons of really good feedback about that. And it was early on. If we did that again, our commentary would be very different. It was Django versus Sabine matchup, and it was like the first week of Django kind of being a thing, and a lot of our early ideas were actually like totally not things I'd be advocating for now. Like sideboarding out Rutgers, one of the big ones. But I think like that, seeing like that sort of level of conversation about like, all right, how does it work in sideboard games? What should we be doing? What should we be resourcing? Here I had to think for a little bit because XYZ is really good, because when you're doing that in the course of a game, you're not being able to analyze like something that goes wrong and like the inherent risk. So I thought that was really good. It's very similar to what you're saying, Mike. It's like, analyzing the game, but really understanding what's happening with the game too. Sort of having a wider angle there. I think the other thing that I do really like is, I think we do a great job of it, but I think from other content creators, it's like just getting a personal vibe to the experience of doing the content, like we do the weekly pod or the bi-weekly pod. But seeing like the car ride to the tournament, seeing the store owner, and kind of like with the KTOD tour coming up, we'll have opportunities to see the community, not just us, but like the communities that you're engaging with. I think is really cool.
Yeah.
I think back on like when you look at like Magic and you go to a GP and you'd see like an LSV, and some of it was because he was like a great player, but a lot of it was because he was also a content creator that you've written articles about. Because there were great players that didn't do content, and people would be like, "Oh, that guy's a master," but you wouldn't really know who he
Right.
was.
You didn't know anything
Or
about
like,
Saito or whatever.
right, and but like a Reed or like a LSV or like whole bunch of guys there, Paolo. Like you'd see them like they'd be hanging out, in their buys for a GP playing games.
Yeah.
Like, wow, it's those guys over there. So I think that would be great if we could get that in this game.
When I played Destiny, I feel
mean-
like I knew everybody by their content. I think the unplayable guys do a good job of that. They haven't been making a ton of unlimited content lately. Like their stuff's kind of sporadic. But like those guys, they have a lot of personality and they bring that, and when you go to an event and you meet them, like you feel like you know them. And so I definitely agree with that. What's up, Steve?
I was gonna say, after Justin was saying all that, this coming from the guy who got somebody coming up to him and saying, "What's up?" at Newbury Comics.
Yeah, that was
Shout out to that
wild.
guy.
Yeah, shout out to that guy if you're watching.
Made me-
So I was at Newbury
was-
Comics, not the one we go to, Mike, the Natick. It was one in like Norwood or Dedham, and was just looking for like stocking stuffers. And I'm like checking out, and this guy like walks out, and like how it registers to door of a store, like pretty close. And the guy's like, KTOD, you guys are rocking it. And like I didn't even say, I like was like, yeah, and like afterwards I was like, man, I should have like taken a picture or something like that. But I like was so shocked, and I like didn't know what was going on. And this has happened to me at like as a basketball coach, like in a community, like I'll go to a pizza shop for lunch when I was at school, and people will be like, oh, it's free or whatever, like go Bears. But this is a totally different level, like being in a Newbury Comics, like just getting blindsided by it. Like with the basketball stuff, you kind of expect it. You'd like think, hey, come to the games. I had my like script down of like what I would usually say. This was wild. I immediately texted you guys like, what the heck is going on? How big are we?
I get to see Sonic 3 for free because the guy recognized me. The guy at the counter recognized me from a tournament. Yeah. I mean, he's a guy that I like met at tournaments. It's not a guy that just recognized me from YouTube, but recognized me from like local events and stuff.
To be fair, we also saw National Treasure 2 for free. That was for a different reason.
That we did. Yeah, good old man.
Took me a second.
Our criminal past is getting revealed.
Sometimes you do things just to see if you can. All right. Are there any tells, verbal or nonverbal, that you've picked up in a TCG that influenced your play and helped you win? If so, what are they?
Boy. This could be its own pod, Brandon.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of examples. Like I have the benefit of like knowing these questions because I typed them out. But like I know in this game, like where people are looking, like I look at people's eyes and I see what they're looking at. I see what card they're picking up. I see what resources they're checking. I see how much like they're counting. I pick up on all that stuff. And like I know for me, like I will specifically do that to like I'll look at random shit. I'll count my resources in weird ways. I will do all that stuff at the table and not necessarily to mislead you. I mean, I am trying to mislead you, but I'm trying to cover my own tells because I'm sure I look at things in my hand and I give away things non-verbally. So
Yeah, like
I'm more
smuggling.
doing it to stay diversified, like to create static, to create noise, so you don't know what I'm thinking. Not necessarily to like, oh, if I put this one resource off to the side, I have force throw. It's not like that. It's more to mask what I might have already given away.
Yeah, I think you could. There's a lot of things here. I would say like don't. It's a two-player game. Engage with your opponent. Look at them. Look at what they're doing. Look, ask them questions. How many cards are in your hand if the game's gotten to a different stage? Like I actually yelled at Wu in our tournament testing team thing at one point, and I was like, "Hey, like you need to look at your opponent. Like you cannot just only look and be sort of doing these calculations here, the
Yeah.
resource row and thing. Like you have to look at your
You have
opponent,
to have broad
and
vision.
you have to have broad vision. You have when they're thinking, you should be present. You should also be, if you think of a 90-degree angle of the table coming up from like the edge of the table, you should not be super far back from that. You should be kind of present at the table.
Hmm.
Um,
I put my
That's a
cards
good analogy.
down.
Like
yeah, put your cards down with the coin. It's similar. I will tell you this: end of the game. Don't give a floppy handshake though. Don't give a loose symbol
floppy.
for the. Don't just leave it. If firm and pull them in.
You got
Yeah, I
anything,
mean,
Steve?
I have a hard enough time just keeping track of all the tokens and damage counters and stuff like that. Like, no, I think there's definitely a lot to be said from what you guys and like especially coming from like a poker background. I think a lot of my success earlier in the poker days was not necessarily reading people like they talk about in the movies or that it's glorified as, but one of my biggest strengths was always being able to get away from hands and like knowing when to fold. I think there's a lot can be transferred over to this game, and I think the two of you touched upon that really nicely. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, like I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older and I'm a step slower, but like there's a lot to keep track of. Like when you guys are talking about earlier, the level of the play, like there's so many dimensions and layers when you factor in all the tokens, the damage counters, damage on the base. Like it's tough.
Yeah, you
So
have good
that's why I
training
think
on it from Star Wars CCG though, because like starting with like 90 effects in play, you like have to remember all
yeah,
those layers of
and I
rules.
was talking about that the other day. I think it was with Justin, and it just felt like it was like different because like it's all just cards. Like you just memorizing cards. This is, I guess,
Well,
the point is because of all of those dimensions and layers. Like if I'm having trouble focusing or I'm focusing on all like the tokens and the aspects of it, then I'm not focusing on the body language and the tells that I'm giving off. So I think the availability for that information is higher because like when you're playing poker, you're always thinking about like how can I give off the least amount of information? Like that's like a main component and factor in the game and you're focusing on that. But in something like this, when you're focusing on so many different other things, those things fall through the cracks. And I think if you can pick up and stay observant, like the two of you said, you can definitely gather a lot more information that way.
one final thing here, and this made me think of it when you're mentioning Star Wars CCG, is like if you've got a sort of history with the game, and Swoo's newer, so you're not going to have that as much, but maybe you've got like someone who you can't beat, who you actually feel intimidated by, right? As someone who's like really good, and like you played them maybe 3 or 4 times, and you can't beat them, and you're like, oh my gosh, and they're a little intimidating to play against. My advice would be, next time you play that person, play the game. Understand that they have to still be in the same restrictions of the game as you are, and that mental capacity, that sort of mental entity of, hey, we're playing a game. They have a risk of losing. I have a risk of losing. It cleans all that out. They can't just. It's not a fight where they can just be stronger than you and beat you down. Like the game itself. If I can win the game, I can win that match, regardless if the person is someone who's a little intimidating. So I know Steve kind of probably knows what I'm talking about on the other side of this, and
Yeah.
sort of success points of where I've had once I kind of figured that out.
Yeah, man. Every time we go to a tournament, I'm afraid I'm going to have to play you. It's not a nice feeling.
That was.
All right, what are some games you're playing when not playing Star Wars Unlimited? Anything on the horizon you're looking forward to?
I've been digging this Bizarre game. I still play a decent amount of TFT just because that's like my COVID love that I've never really been able to shake. But the Bizarre game is pretty good. I think they're still working through a lot of like balancing issues because it's still in beta, but it's definitely entertaining. Personally, I really enjoy games where you don't have to like worry about matching up with an opponent, interacting with someone else. Like you can just fire it up, play for a little while, walk away. Like that's got a lot of components to it that I really like. Um, so that's probably going to be the next thing that I kind of dabble in. And I know we got a thread somewhere within the Discord where people have been posting some of the builds that they've hit 10 win streaks with. And it's definitely
That's cool.
it's pretty interesting. So check it out.
Yeah, I'm qualified for the Magic Regional Championship in March. It's modern, so I really enjoy Magic. I actually had to defer my qualification off of I forget the other format. It was like the mini modern, whatever they call that, Pioneer or something.
Yeah, Pioneer.
So I don't know modern, and that's also a recent ban shakeup. So if you're in the Discord, tag me, and ship some modern decks that you think are going to be really good. I'd actually love to chat about modern internally if people want to get a thread going. And then I still, Steve and me are going to Star Wars CCG Worlds. That's still something that we can maybe do this year. So that's going to be in Seattle.
Where is it?
This fall. Seattle.
Seattle.
It's going to be fun. And I think, that game still holds a big place for me. And I am excited about new games, like going back to like Mike bringing in Star Wars games was obviously great because it was Star Wars and versus 20 years ago. We love Marvel and DC and all that stuff. But like if there was a new game that had, in terms of something new and it brings in like that sort of fresh, organized play thing, like we were looking at like some people have talked about the Gundam game. It's got some really cool art and it's coming out next year. So I think something that's new could be kind of cool too. So if people are interested in any of those, well, not Star Wars CCG so much because there's not too many people out there who play that, but the Gundam game, people are interested in that, or modern, hit me up. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on both of those things.
Yeah, I'm full time SWU all the time, but I would maybe look at the Riot game for League of Legends if they drop that outside of China.
Oh, that's cool.
All right, what's your favorite memory from any TCG you've played? For me, this is it's tough to beat winning Gen Con with Ewoks at the culmination of my Destiny career, in terms of gameplay. But I think in terms of like living life, it's probably the pro circuit in LA or Anaheim that we went to, just because it was the most degenerate, like can't tell the stories online, like being in our 20s having fun. So it's split between like the great times I've had with these guys, and probably just like working really hard for 20 something years and finally having it pay off with Destiny. Card playing wise.
Yeah,
those are good ones.
Personally, there's two memories that come to mind. One was Kashik Regionals 2000 when Justin and I first moved over. Like, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this without being offensive. But I was playing like the number 2 rated person in New England, and the guy was a complete freaking
number three.
Was he 3?
It was Hayes Brenston. Forever.
He's than him. Yeah, number 3, and he was just like a complete numpty. And Justin and I bonded over the fact that this kid was just a freaking moron.
Well, we both beat him, and like we were the kind of guys who were known as like being pretty good, Steve and I, but didn't have necessarily the best ratings because we were playing, at the bigger tournaments. Well, Steve was playing the bigger tournaments. I wasn't able to play as much. People knew I was pretty decent. And then this guy was like in northern Maine. And people are like, who's this? But he came to the regional, and I think I played him round 1 and beat him. And Steve was like watching my match, like fucking trash. It's like 14-year-old Steve.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Steve played him later on and beat him, and it was like, oh man, you lost to us both. And Steve was saying like he was continuing to say,
yeah, I was popping.
That was a good memory.
That's definitely probably number 1. Number 2 is versus time period, the three of us plus TJ, Priscilla Lane, testing,
Glee mirrors.
Glee,
Michael Vick.
mirrors,
Yeah.
Michael Vick, White
Playing card
Elephant,
games in your
Big
20s when
City.
you have like no real responsibilities was the dream.
So good.
Yeah, I think for me, I think that versus pro circuit in LA, like when Mike, you and I were obviously with the amazing wild times there, but also like me and you both did really well, like getting into the second day of drafting, and like day one we played the same deck. We added like we had like a really cool strategy, and we added like the extra turn one play as the ninth turn one play as the Falcon character. That's like a really cool memory. I think winning Worlds for the first time, Steve, when you stayed at my house with Johnny Chu. That's the only time I've ever cried at a card tournament when I won. For the first time. It had been like a long time coming. I think I had the most top eights for Worlds without winning. And absolutely demolished my opponent in the finals, but it was like sort of waved over me at a certain point. Like there was like probably about 3 minutes left in the actual game. And in Star Wars, you played 2 games, and I'd won the first one by a large margin. And the second one, like there was a battle that I had, where I like just drew incredibly well, and it was like sort of pointed back to our. For the people who know the game, I drew a 6, and a 5 in a battle, and it sort of harkened back to like our perception of the game of like the number and having like a higher destiny average than everyone else. And that's what made the game like that. I knew that moment that I'd won the world championships, which was really elusive for a long time. So that's definitely an up there memory. I also think winning, me and you might go to Maine, and me qualifying for the Pro Tour for the first time for Magic. That was a pretty cool one.
Yeah, that was a great one. Us winning the first 2 ever team world championships is a great one. Blind crossing, Luke flipping that 7, seeing the look on Tom's face, and then you scooping your cards. I mean, like we're done.
So good. I know that was so good. Like we had both lost. You drew like a 1 of 40. And then it just happened to be in my draw phase, so I could basically concede that match in a way you couldn't do in that game.
Right.
It like lined up perfectly. There's so many though. I mean, there's so many.
We've been doing this for 25 years. A lot of memories.
Even me, like went to Pro Tour with Matt Costa where he top aided. It was with me, Jason Ford, Matt Costa, Ben Friedman, in a little rinky dink hotel. And Costa top aided Pro Tour with Delver. Like those are great memories. How about like me winning the UMass PTQ?
With us hanging at the bar
right after Jacob was born, and you guys all hanging out at the bar, like you two and Costa, like losing, like Costa texting me and being like, what's your situation? And me being like, all right, I'm in the finals, like, and like me like running out of there. That was one of my favorite Magic events for sure.
Nice.
So much good stuff.
All right, from Matthew R. How do you keep your head in the game during a longer tournament? I keep starting on a win streak and then losing and tilting off the path to top 8. Any advice?
Don't think ahead. Don't think ahead of if you win 3 games. Oh, I need to win 2 more, and that'll get me in, and I'll be in my top. Don't. You play the one game. Only play the one game.
I don't know the secret to like when I'm able to do this necessarily, but like when I am never thinking ahead is when I do the best. I don't know if it's like distractions or just like focusing on one game at a time. But when I start thinking like, how am I going to explain this to my, like how I lost this game to people? Like that's when I start doing bad. And when I just like show up, play my game, think about the things in the moment and don't worry about anything else. Like I'm not worried about who I'm going to play next round. I don't do any scouting. Like Alex loves to say like, what's this guy playing? What's this guy playing? I'm not thinking about any of that stuff. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to see what I'm playing against. I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to build out the game in my head as I shuffle and really, really try and stay in the moment individually.
And push those thoughts out. They will come in. So like I have memories of like being like, 5-0 and then like going 5-3, and it's happened to the best of us. But push those moments out of your brain, and also don't be afraid. Like I have a very vivid memory of like being at a Pro Tour, being 5-2, and like being up in game 3, and just my mind, I remembered saying like, I'm gonna be 6-2. Like this has never happened to me before. I've always scrubbed. I've almost never made it. Like this is incredible. And then like this weird line where like a guy like bounced my like Oblivion rings or something and like had triggers on the enter play abilities happened. And I still could have won the game, by thought seizing him to go to 1. But I didn't because I was like just sort of frozen, if that makes sense. Like I was like, oh my God, this thing just happened. And kind of to your point, Mike, like how am I going to explain to my friends that I lost this game?
Mm-hmm.
Not recognizing that. And I had the thought, like I could thought to seize him, but like I don't want to go to 1. Like it's just something about it. I don't know. I still
Yeah, he
don't know
played
why I
scared.
didn't.
Yeah.
And then he played like a drain effect, and I just lost like instantly. Where I think I actually probably still win if I thought seize. So I think pushing those thoughts are going to come, like you, especially if you start off like 4-0, 5-0, like they're going to happen, and recognize that. Just play the game in front of you, and kind of take that out of take the sort of emotional connection to doing well and not doing well out of the equation, and just do your best inside of each game.
Yeah, I think you guys pretty much hit the nail on the head there.
Right. What other games were you playing when not playing Swoop? Oh, wait, I already did this one. I must have gone the wrong way. How many different KTOD teams are there? Core, testing, and stream from Aegir.
It's a good question.
Yeah, this is... I put this on here because we get this a lot. There's a lot of blurred lines, but the KTOD is like a content creation entity of me, Justin, Steve, and Maddie. And then we have a team that also includes Woo, Alex Blandon, Chrono, CJ, and Tada, John Tada, Professor Numpty. Those are the guys that we playtest with. That's our playtesting team. And then inside the Discord, those guys stream for us to create like some little extra content, even though anyone can stream in our Discord. We do throw them some money to stream in the Discord for us, just so people have stuff to watch throughout the week. But and
those guys are definitely active in playing. Like we're active, but maybe not as much as we always want to be. And those guys, Todd has got, I think, every SCG. Alex is always looking for events. Woo and CJ, probably a little bit more like us, where they're looking for slightly larger events to go to. But those guys are playing; they're doing well, and that makes up the tournament testing team.
Yeah,
we all went to Gen Con; it was fun.
All right, how much weight do you put in data from non-competition events like store showdowns? How do you filter out the noise? This is from Brett F.
I don't know if the data at all matters, because I think this is a game where there are some decks you don't want to lose to. Like you can't lose to, for instance, Django right now, and be like, oh, I can't. I have a 10% win rate against Django, but I feel good about my deck. Like that's not a thing. But I do think that there's enough in this game where it's at now, especially with lack of huge events, that people even at the PQ level are still going to play their decks that they sort of just like, and that's just like a lot of variance there. People are still going to play Palpatines, still going to play Chewies and Yodas. So if you see a store showdown and you see like, okay, it had this meta, even if it was a larger event that has a specific meta, what does that really mean for the event that you're going to play? You could still play a lot of random stuff. So I don't really look at it too much. I do look at sort of adding a list of what I think is tier 1 and just sort of keep those things in mind. But like for a good example, that's for a long time we've thought that Han 1 was like really good, right? And like no one plays it,
right?
But I don't think we necessarily, Mike, you've explored it a bit, but I don't think necessarily we're like skipping to go play Palpatine. But tons of people play Palpatine.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you could really extrapolate a lot of this stuff and apply it to the event you're going to go.
But they're good for figuring out things people are experimenting on and sometimes doing well. Like someone won a showdown yesterday with Asajj Red, and it's like, ooh, okay, well now someone might have cracked it. So I don't think you use it in terms of like, oh, this is expected meta. Like, oh, someone won a showdown with Asajj Red, I'm gonna have to see it. Like 10 times, but like, oh, did someone figure it out? Can I find, because that's what I like to do. I like to like iterate on deck. So if I can find someone's list that did really well and I can start to like make changes to it, learn the play lines, get better with it. Like that's what I use those for. Just like noticing the experimental stuff. And then filtering out the noise is easy. Just focus on your own playtesting. Find the people you trust, watch the people you trust, listen to the people you trust, and get the games yourself. All right. We have one last thing to do, which is pick our winners So I'm
maybe.
going to stream something new for you guys. Can you see the Wheel
Oh
of
my
Names?
God! Did you have to enter all those by hand?
No, because I did a form this time. The first time we
There
did
you
a giveaway, I did have to enter in 1,000 by hand. Only 240 people signed up for this, which to me is crazy because they're basically getting $100 bills. But
Right.
2,000 people, 4,000 people watched the podcast and still didn't. But whatever. Let me get it on my screen.
I want to click in so bad.
All right, so we're doing 2 winners. Steve, pick a number 1 to 5.
4.
I knew he was gonna pick 4. I don't know how.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's my number, baby.
That's your sports number?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
And the winner is, we have to wait for the pop-up. Kyle Kraft, let's go.
No way.
No shit.
PQ winner
This guy.
from Colorado. Kyle
Does
Kraft. what's
Kyle
up?
ever lose?
No, he just
No.
stays winning.
I don't
All
know
right,
if I've ever
Justin,
really
pick-
experienced him losing.
Pick a
but
number 1 to
honestly,
10.
Me?
Justin, pick a number 1 to 10.
It's 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
The Lord's number.
I mean, it's Sunday. We ain't resting.
No, we're not. And the winner is Phil Swede.
Congrats, Phil.
Or Phil Sweaty. I don't know.
Ooh. How do you pronounce those things? Is it
Sweaty,
open to
the sweaty
interpretation?
balls. That's how they spell the sweaty balls. Good.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, congrats to the winners of the Metalfab tokens. Thanks everyone for watching our mailbag episode. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2025 for the next episode, hopefully with KTOD Maddie. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out in the Discord, and good luck in all your events. Oh, December 28th, online event in the KTOD Discord. If you're still watching, sign up. All right.
See ya.
Later, boys.
Bye now.